இறையினிக் குறையும் குற்றுயி ராக்கி எனைவதைத் திடலதற் கிண்ணம் இறைவனா மருணா calaveṇa muḍittē yēkaṇā vāṛinī ḍūṛi.
Om Namo Bhagavate Śrī Aruṇācala Ramanaya. Namaskaram. Today I'm going to be talking about verse 3 of Arunachala Padigam. During Bhagavan's Jayanti celebrations, I talked about verse 1. During his Aradhana celebrations, I talked about verse 2. And now I'll talk about verse 3. But just to recapitulate, verse 1 was basically Bhagavan was praying to see Arunachala, praying to Arunachala to give his darshan. But obviously in this context, his darshan means Bhagavan wants to see Arunachala as he actually is. In other words, he wants Arunachala Swarupa Darshanam, the real nature of Arunachala. And in the second verse, it was a prayer for love. And in this verse, Bhagavan is praying to complete the task of killing me. All these three are actually the same, because we cannot see Arunachala as he actually is without thereby being killed by him. That is, knowing our real nature is the death of ego, and the death of ego is knowing our real nature. They're one and the same thing. So seeing Arunachala and being killed by Arunachala are one and the same thing. And it is the nature of Arunachala to destroy his devotees. As Bhagavan sings in iṛaiyuṇai, in verse 24 of iṛaiyuṇai, Bhagavan sings, koḍiyiṭ tadiyare kollu nekati kondeng varven Arunachala. Koḍiyiṭu means hoisting a flag. That is, in old days when a philanthropist was to do an act of philanthropy, supposing he was to feed people or something like that, he would hoist a flag to announce it. So Arunachala has hoisted a flag. And what does he hoisted a flag to announce? Adiyare kol. He will kill the devotees who come to him. So koḍiyiṭ tadiyare kollu nekati. After embracing, Kati kondu means embracing. It can also mean marrying. After embracing you, who kill devotees, hoisting a flag. That implies embracing you, who have vowed to kill your devotees and have hoisted a flag to announce your intention to do so. Engan varvein Arunachala. How will I live? In other words, how can I continue to live after embracing you? So the very nature of Arunachala is to kill his devotees. And he has hoisted a flag to announce this. This is why Bhagavan, in the first verse of iṛaiyuṇai, he begins, Arunachala mena ahame nene pava teve rarupai Arunachala. You eradicate the ego or the I of those who meditate on you in the heart as I, that is, ahame both implies meditating on Arunachala as I and meditating on Arunachala in the heart. And both, it has two meanings. So the nature of Arunachala is to kill his devotees. So if we see Arunachala, we will thereby, if we see Arunachala as he actually is, we will thereby be killed by him. And in order to see him as he actually is, we must have all-consuming love for him, because we cannot see him until we are willing to surrender ourselves, to sacrifice ourselves completely. And in order to sacrifice ourselves completely, we require all-consuming love. So in order to give ourselves wholly to Arunachala, we need love. So the prayer in the first verse to see Arunachala, the prayer in the second verse for true love for Arunachala, and the prayer in this verse for Arunachala to complete the task of killing one. These are all ultimately pointing at the same thing. They're all one and the same thing. So just briefly, in the first verse, Bhagavan sang, if you who by your grace took charge of me are not gracious, giving me sight of you, what will be my state if I leave this body, having pined and suffered intensely in this dark and miserable world? Without seeing the sun will a lotus blossom. Likewise, being the son of the sun, O love called the great Arunā, great hill Arunā, where grace surges forth as a spring, gushing abundantly. The implication is, will my heart blossom without seeing you? So the blossoming of the heart and the killing of ego are one and the same thing. And that is not possible without seeing the son of jnana, which is Arunachala. And then in the next verse, verse 2, he sings, Arunachala, the form of love, having taken charge of me, is it befitting for you to ruin me by not granting love of you to me, who do not have love in which one melts, softening like wax in fire, thinking of you in one's heart? Oh, happiness produced in love, or in other words, happiness born in love, oh, satiating ambrosia welling up in the heart of devotees. What to say? Your will is my will. That is happiness for me, O Lord of my soul. So those are the first two verses. And in this verse, the meaning of this verse, I'll just briefly say the meaning. Well, that is, if we take the bare meaning, by the rope of your grace, pulling me, who did not come close to an intention to think of you, the Lord, you stood to kill completely without an iota of love, of life. Without leaving an iota of life, that means. What wrong did I, poor wretch, do? What little obstacle now? Thoroughly tormenting ye in this way, making half alive is for what? Arunachala, who are God, fulfilling your intention, may you flourish as the one for all it. May you flourish as the one for all eternity. So I'll go through it now, sentence by sentence. And first, the first word of the verse is iṛai. Iṛai means God in the sense of the one who is the supreme, who is preeminent, who is beyond everything, who transcends everything. So he says, Bhagavan sings, iṛaiyuṇai. Uṇai means you. Niṇaiyu, thinking of you. meṇṇamē. meṇṇamē means the thought or the idea or the intention to think of you. naṇṇā means not coming close, or not who did not come close. In other words, who did not who had no intention to think of you. That's the basic idea. So this is a relative clause. iṛaiyuṇai, niṇaiyu, meṇṇamē, naṇṇā. This is describing the next word, which is ennai. Ennai means me. So me, who did not even come close to having any intention to think of you, the you who are God, the Lord. So then he goes on to say, ennai unudu arul kaiṭral, by the rope of your grace. Like the idea is like a lasso or something. If you tie someone up in a rope and drag them. So by the rope of your grace, kaiṭral means by it's an instrumental case. So it's by the rope of your grace. Iṛtu means drawing, dragging, pulling, attracting, carrying away. Pulling me or attracting me by the rope of your grace, me who had no intention of thinking of you. And then he goes on to say, or the next three words can be interpreted in three ways. Iṛaiyuṇai, indri. One meaning of iṛai is iota, something very very small, an atom, or it comes from a verb meaning to break off. The other meaning of iṛai, as we saw before, is God. So it has two meanings depending on which verb it's derived from. Uya means soul, and indri means without. So iṛaiyuṇai indri can mean either without an iota of life. That implies without leaving an iota of life. In other words, killing me completely. That's what he's praying for. Another meaning is, if we take iṛai to mean God, then iṛaiyuṇai indri means without God and soul. That implies without leaving any distinction between God and soul. So long as we seem to exist as a separate entity, as an ego, there's a seeming distinction between us and Arunachala. But when he kills us completely, then that distinction is completely removed. So there are two meanings. Both meanings are very appropriate in this context. Then the next word is koṉḍṛiḍa. Koṉḍṛiḍa means to kill completely. Niṉḍṛā, you stood. You stood, the implication that is the literal meaning, koṉḍṛiḍa niṉḍṛā, you stood to kill completely. But the implication is you stood determined to kill completely. Kill who? Kill me completely. Me, who had no thought, who had no intention of thinking of you. You stood determined to kill me. So the main clause of this verse is this iṛaiyuṇai indri koṇḍṛiḍa niṇḍṛā, which can be taken in two senses. You stood determined to kill me without leaving even an iota of life, or you stood determined to kill me without leaving any distinction between God and soul. In other words, completely, you wanted to kill me completely so that there was no distinction between you and me. As Bhagavan sings in the second verse of Aksharam, Arahusam Dharampol, Ahamum Niyum Mutru Abhinavmai Irupom. That is, may we be completely non-different, like Arahu and Sundaram. Arahu and Sundaram are names of Bhagavan's mother and father. They're also there. Arahu means beauty in Tamil. Sundaram means beauty in Sanskrit. So they're two words that mean the same. They refer to the same thing. So just like Arahu and Sundaram are completely non-different, it's also a tribute to his parents, to a love between his parents, because if there wasn't great love between them, how can they have given birth to such a divine child? So it's a beautiful tribute to his parents, and to what he's praying for is that complete. Mutru means complete, no difference at all. May we be completely non-different. May we be one. So when Arunachala kills us, that distinction between God and soul will be destroyed, and he will kill us in such a way without leaving even an iota of life in us, and in us as ego. That means ego will be completely eradicated. So the whole of this first sentence, iṛaiyuṇai niṇaiyu meṇṇamē unudu aruļkayiṭ irtu iṛaiyuṇai indri koṇḍṛiḍa niṇḍṛā, means by the great rope of your grace, pulling me, who did not come close to an intention to think of you, the Lord, you stood to kill completely without an iota of life, or without God and soul. Two meanings. So the implication is, if we slightly expand it, by the rope of your grace, pulling, attracting, dragging, or carrying me away, me who did not come close or did not adhere to an intention to think of you, the Lord, you stood determined to kill me completely without leaving even an iota of life or without leaving any distinction between God and soul. So that's the first sentence. Then there are a series of questions Bhagavan asks. So the next sentence is yeṉkuṟai ṛākki. En means what? Kuṛai is a word that has a range of meanings. It means deficiency, imperfection, want, fault, defect, flaw, dissatisfaction, grievance, wrong, or obstacle. Yiyaṭṛiṇa means is a past tense, first person form of the verb iṛaiyuṇai, which means to do. So yiyaṭṛiṇa means I did. Ṉēṛai means a fool, an ignorant fellow, a simpleton, a poor wretch, a helpless fellow. So Bhagavan is referring to him as ṉēṛai, as a fool, an ignorant person, a simpleton, a poor wretch, a helpless person. So the implication is, what wrong did I, poor wretch, do? In other words, what wrong did I, this poor wretch, do to you? Then the next sentence, iṛaiyuṇai kuṟaiyeṉ. Iṛai, again, in this context, it means an iota, something very small. Iṇai means now or henceforth. Kuṛai again means deficiency, imperfection, defect, flaw, or obstacle. And yeṉ again means what. So in this third sentence, iṛaiyuṇai kuṟaiyeṉ, it's a question that means, what little obstacle now? So the implication is, what little obstacle now prevents you fulfilling your intention to kill me? That's the implication. But all he says is, what little obstacle now? But what he's praying for is for Arunachala to fulfill his intention to kill him completely. So that is what's implied here. Then the next word, kuṭṛuyi, is a compound of two words. Kuṭṛu means something that's short, diminished, shrunken, or defective. And uyi means life. So kuṭṛuyi is a compound word in Tamil, but means half alive, or half alive, half dead. That's the implication. So in other words, it implies being stranded between life and death, neither alive nor dead, stuck between the two. So kuṭṛuyi rākki, making me half alive. Ṉēṛai means me. Veitiḍil means veitu means tormenting. Veitiḍil, idil is idu is often used as an auxiliary verb, but gives emphasis to what is to the verb that it's attached to. So it implies we can take it to mean thoroughly. So veitu means tormenting, thoroughly tormenting. So thoroughly tormenting me, making me half dead, half alive. Edaku, for what? Ingan means thus or in this manner. So this sentence, this fourth sentence, I think, yes, fourth sentence, kuṭṛuyi rākki ēṇai veitiḍil edaku ingan. It's a question that means thoroughly tormenting me in this way, making half alive is for what? So that implies, for what reason or purpose are you thoroughly tormenting me in this way? Making me half alive, stranded between life and death. Then the final sentence, he begins by describing Arunachala as iṛaivaṇā Arunachala. Arunachala is obviously Arunachala. Means who are. Iṛaivaṇ is another word in Tamil that means God. It actually it's derived in two ways. It's derived from iṛai, which, as I said earlier, means the chief, superior, or the transcendent one. So it's implying that implies the transcendent nature of God. Iṛai also, it's also derived from iru, which means to stay, abide, or pierce through. So the word iṛaivaṉ implies that God abides in all, because he's omnipresent and all-pervading, and yet he transcends all, because he's infinite and therefore unlimited by and independent of all things. In other words, what iṛaivaṉ implies is that God is both immanent and transcendent. So it's referring to that God as that which is both immanent, ever present, omnipresent, present in all places, and yet transcending everything. So iṛaivaṇā Arunachala is a beautiful description of Arunachala. Meṇṇamē, again, it's the same word that he used in the first sentence. It means thought or idea. In this context, it means intention. So what is the intention of Arunachala? As Bhagavan said in the first sentence, the intention of Arunachala is to kill him completely. So meṇṇam muḍittē. Muḍittē means ending, concluding, accomplishing, or fulfilling. So meṇṇam muḍittē means fulfilling your intention. What intention? The intention to kill me completely. Arunachala, who are God, fulfilling your intention, yekaṉā vāṛinī ḍūṛi. Yekaṉ is a Tamil personal noun, formed from a Sanskrit word eka, which means one. So yekaṉ means the one. Here it implies that Arunachala, God, is the only one. As it's said in the Chandogya Upanishad, he is ekam eva advaityam, one only without a second. So he is the only one, that's the implication. Means being or as, and vari is an optative derived from the verb var, which means to be, exist, flourish, prosper, or be happy. So vari means may you be, or may you flourish. Niḍūṛi means for long eons or all eternity. That is, again, it's a compound. Niḍu means a long time, or permanent, or permanence or eternity, and uri means an eon, or a very long time, an age. So niḍūṛi implies for all eternity. So this final sentence, iṛaivaṇā Arunachala meṇṇam muḍittē yekaṇā vāṛinī ḍūṛi, means Arunachala, who are God, fulfilling your intention, may you flourish as the one for all eternity. The implication is Arunachala, who are the all-pervading yet all-transcending God, fulfilling your intention to annihilate me completely, may you flourish as the only one, the one who alone exists for all eternity. So that is Bhagavan's prayer, that Arunachala should swallow him completely, and Arunachala alone should remain in all his eternal glory. So the whole verse is, by the rope of your grace, pulling or attracting me, who did not come close to an intention to think of you, the Lord, you stood determined to kill me completely, without leaving an iota of life and without leaving any distinction between God and soul. What wrong did I, this poor wretch, do to you? What little obstacle now prevents that what wrong did I do to you? It means, what wrong did I do, but you've decided to kill me? That's one way of taking it. But what wrong did I do, but you haven't yet killed me? That's more fitting with the bhava of the song. But we can take it can be taken either way. But more fitting with the bhava is, what wrong did I do? Why are you not completing? You have this intention to kill me. Why are you not complete? What wrong have I done that you're not completing your intention to kill me? What little obstacle now prevents you fulfilling your intention to kill me? For what reason are you thoroughly tormenting me in this way, making me half alive, stranded between life and death? Arunachala, who are the all-pervading yet all-transcending God, fulfilling your intention to annihilate me completely, may you flourish as the only one, the one who alone exists, the one without a second, for all eternity. So in this verse, like in so many other verses of Arunachala, Aksharamlai, and Patigam, Bhagavan is constantly praying for this complete destruction. In verse 9 of Aksharamlai, he expresses it most beautifully. This verse, Bhagavan expresses that urgency with which he wants to be destroyed. Aritu means destroying me. Ipodu, now. That is, without delaying, now itself destroy me. It's what Bhagavan is praying for. So, ene aritipo, ene kalavarvidil, iduvo an my Arunachala. If you do not unite with me, destroying me now, is this your manliness? So that is, Bhagavan is expressing here that urgency with which he's praying to Arunachala to destroy him without delaying any longer. He doesn't want moksha at some time in the future. He wants to be destroyed here and now. So this theme of that Arunachala is there to destroy his devotees. In Maharshi's Gospel, it's recorded, but Bhagavan once said, your glory lies where you cease to exist. Your greatest glory lies where you cease to exist. So it's the complete eradication of ego. That is what Bhagavan is constantly praying for throughout these, throughout Aksharamlai, Patigam, Navamanmalai, all these songs. He's repeatedly praying for his destruction. And as he says at the end of 10th verse of Patigam, he ends by saying, or to min uikal, O souls, be saved, thinking of this Arunachala, Ulam Adenil Oli, who shines in the heart, we koli Arunamagiriye, as the destroyer of the soul. So the grace of Arunachala lies in his destroying us completely. So this is what Bhagavan is constantly praying for. And then in the 11th verse, he says, like me who think this hill to be the supreme, how many are those who have thereby been destroyed? So Arunachala is there, that is, Shiva appeared in the form of Arunachala only to completely destroy us. So that is the ultimate grace, is our own lies in our own destruction. So Bhagavan says in that verse 11, like me who think this hill to be the supreme, how many of those who have thereby been destroyed? O people who are wandering about, thinking of a means to give up the body, having given up desire for this defective life due to its expanding or unfolding misery, there is on earth one rare medicine that when thought of once within the mind will kill without killing. No, it is certainly Arunachala, which kills without killing means it kills the ego without killing us. That is, we remain, but what is real in us remains. What is real in us is only Arunachala, who's ever shining in our heart as I am, who's ever dancing in the heart as Bhagavan puts it in verse 2 of Arunachala Padigam. Om Namo Bhagavate Śrī Aruṇācala Ramanaya.
இறையுணை நினையும் எண்ணமே நண்ணா எனையுன daruṭkayiṭ ṟālīrt iṛaiyuயின்றிக் கொன்றிட நின்றாய் yeṉkuṟai iṛaiyyinik kuṟaiyeṉ kuṭṛuyi rākki yeணaivadait tiḍaledaṛ kiṅṅa இறைவனா மருணா சலவென முடித்தே நீகனா வாழினி